Here's a question for you. Is leasing a car a bad idea? Well, if you listen to conventional, uninformed logic, then it's not necessarily the most financially responsible thing to do. People say that leasing, which is basically renting a car over an extended period of time, is only for people who want to throw their money away or show off in cars they can't actually afford. Woohoo! But it's so much fun. If that's your point of view, I hear you, but I'm not so sure I agree. At least, not always. Because leasing, if you do it right, can actually be the cheapest way of using a new car. Let me break it down. First of all, I gotta tell you that I'm not giving you financial advice. Go talk to your mum, your dad, or your accountant for that. But I am about to explain some data that I have thanks to Auto Trader, and we know pretty much everything when it comes to car data, right? We give you the tools to buy, sell, and lease cars so we know what one costs compared to the other. And I really want to share those numbers with you so you can make the right decision for yourself. Okay, so what is leasing? It's long-term renting, basically, and it usually applies only to new cars. You pay an initial rental, which is a bit like a deposit, except you don't get it back, and then you pay a monthly rental fee over 24, 36, or 48 months. In return, you get a sparkling new car that you can use up to 20,000 miles a year, and at the end of the lease period, they'll come and take the car away, at which point you can choose to order a new one or not. On the surface, it seems as if you're just throwing away a bunch of cash though. Imagine leasing an Audi A3 and paying nearly £500 a month for 36 months. That's 18 grand to use a car that at the end of those 3 years, you give back. What? But things aren't always as simple as they seem. Here's the thing. Buying a car with cash is all well and good. Maybe you buy a car for £18,000 and you keep it for the rest of your life, or rather for the rest of its life. A conventional car will last for 200,000 miles. If you maintain it well, maybe even 300,000 miles. In the UK, the average distance we travel every year is about 7,500 miles. If you stuck it out to the bitter end, doing that number of miles, you could keep a car for like 40 years. But let's keep it real. People don't keep their cars for 40 years. If they did, everybody would be rolling around in cars that were made in 1983. And I'm sure you don't drive a car made in 1983, at least not on a daily basis. Out of the nearly 500,000 cars for sale on Auto Trader, there are only around 500 that were made between 1960 and 1980. People don't keep their cars for very long. In reality, according to our data, on average, cars on Auto Trader are bought and then sold every 3 years and 4 months. And what happens when that period is over and you want to get rid of the car? You sell it, right? But if you spent, let's say, 30 grand on a car when it was new and then sell it after 3 years and 4 months, you don't get back that 30 grand, do you? No. And that's because there's a thing called depreciation, which is a reduction in the value of a car over time due to wear and tear. As soon as you buy a new car, it becomes an old car. And nobody wants to buy an old car for the price of a new car. After 3 years and 4 months, that car might have lost up to 50% of its value. A £30,000 car might be worth £15,000, which means over 3 and a bit years, you've lost £15,000 for the privilege of using that car. Over 3 years, that's £416 a month. So the question I have is, would it have just been better to lease a car for £416 a month rather than spending £30,000 on it up front? Let's break it down with some concrete examples. As I've said, Auto Trader allows you to buy new cars, used cars, and also to lease. We give you the options, and all we care about is that you do what's best for you. But what's great is that we have the data. We can tell you whether leasing or buying might be best for a specific car on our platform. And here's a few things to consider when you're trying to work out whether leasing is better than buying cash. First of all, the total price of the car to buy. The depreciation, that's how much it loses over time. And the future trade valuation, that's roughly how much you can sell that depreciated car for when you're done with it. And here's how much you need to consider before you go into a lease. The initial payment, that's how much you pay up front. The monthly rentals, that's how much you pay every month for the duration of the lease. And the total cost of the lease, that's everything added together. What I'm gonna do now is compare buying versus leasing for a few specific cars, keeping in mind everything I've just mentioned. And we're gonna do it for the default lease period of 36 months with 6 months initial payment and 8,000 miles a year allowance, which is what most people do. Let's start with one of the most popular cars in the UK, the Nissan Qashqai. Specifically the 1.3 DRGT MHEV Acenta Premium. Great car. Now, the list price for this car is £29,419. That's how much it costs to buy, right? We've also calculated the future trade value of this car, which is, remember, how much you can reasonably expect to sell it on for privately after 3 years. That's £15,205. The total cash cost, that's the difference between what you paid for it when it was new and what you can sell it for after 36 months, is £14,214. That's what you've lost by buying that car new and selling it after 36 months. And by the way, the longer you keep it, the more the car loses in value. How does that compare to leasing over 36 months? Okay, we'll use the most common lease terms for a Qashqai on our site. That's £343 a month. You pay 6 months worth of that up front and then 35 subsequent monthly payments of the same amount over the entire lease period. And for this Qashqai, the total cost of the lease, when you add up the initial payment and the rest of the monthly payments, is £14,081. Interesting, isn't it? If you bought the Qashqai, you'd have lost £14,214 after 3 years. But as we've just seen, if you leased the car and then gave it back after 3 years, you'd have paid a total of £14,081. That makes the lease over the same 3-year period £132 cheaper than buying the Qashqai. And you don't have to save up or put aside £29,500 in cash in the process. You just keep your money and pay in installments. We'll look at a couple more examples in a second, but I just want to reiterate, I'm not giving anyone financial advice. Please don't take this as gospel, all right? Speak to someone who knows about money. I'm just giving you my side of the story. Do the maths for yourself. I should also point out that this video is not aimed at people who prefer to buy used cars.
I'm here.
I am talking exclusively to people who want to work out the best way of getting into a new car. Right, with that said, let's work on another example. Let's do the Polestar 2. First of all, here's the list price. The price of buying it new, £45,450. The future trade value, again, the price that you could reasonably expect to sell it for after 3 years of depreciation, £21,823. And that gives you a total cost, the difference between the new list price and the price you sell it for, of £23,627. That's how much you lose. What if you were to lease the car? Okay, the monthly price of a Polestar 2 lease on Auto Trader is £566.98 on the terms that I mentioned earlier. If you pay 6 months initial rental on month 1 and that same figure every month for the rest of the lease period, then the total cost of the lease is £23,246.18. If you bought this car new and then sold it again after 3 years, you'd lose £23,627. The cost to lease the car, £23,246. In other words, by leasing the Polestar 2, you're gonna save £380, and at no point will you have to fork out £45,000 before someone gives you the keys. All right, it's fair to say you're not gonna be better off leasing every single car versus buying it. Some cars depreciate more than others during the time that you own it. Hell, some cars even go up in value. It's very rare, but it does happen. Let me give you an example of a car with good depreciation. The Porsche 911. This one cost £105,699. After 3 years, if you sell it, you get back £66,780. That's a loss of £38,000. But if you lease one with us, you pay an initial payment of £11,291, followed by £1,881 every month, for a total lease cost of £77,000. The difference between buying it and then selling it on, total cost £38,919, versus leasing, total cost £77,000, is over £38,000. You're better off buying the Porsche. Anyway, Let's end on a great example of a car where if you don't lease it, you're literally setting fire to your money. Again, not financial advice, just giving you my opinion. The Audi A8 3-litre TDI V6 50 Black Edition. This one costs £82,000, right? After 3 years of driving it, because of depreciation, you can sell it back for £34,000. So in 3 years, you've lost £47,700. If you lease it, you pay £876 a month with a total lease cost of £35,923. The difference between buying and leasing is nearly £12,000 over 3 years in the favor of leasing. Food for thought. Personally, what do? I buy some cars, I lease others. It just depends on the individual deal. I bought my Ford Mustang, cash. I leased my BMW X5 and I leased my Tesla Model Y. I'm not telling you what to do with those specific cars, I'm telling you what I did with them, right? And that you can also save money with leasing if you get the deal right. And there are pros and cons, obviously. Pros include the fact that you can get a new car every few years and you might not have to worry about maintenance. You also have a car that's in warranty all the time. You get to try out lots of different cars rather than sticking with one for the rest of eternity. And you don't have to worry about depreciation. But there are downsides as well. The mileage you can do is limited. You can't modify the lease car and you get charged for damage when you give it back. On balance, I wouldn't say leasing is definitively better, but it can save you hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands. It's definitely worth thinking about. And on that subject, if you're interested in leasing a car, head over to autotrader.co.uk for the latest deals. I've also put a link down below to my top 10 lease deals in the description box, the ones that I would personally lease instead of buying. But of course, whether you're buying, selling or leasing, Auto Trader can help you do it all. We'll even give you an instant cash offer for your used car so you can put it towards the cost of a new one. I should also point out that the very best way to get hold of a brand new car, if you're really lucky, is to win one for free in our monthly electric car giveaway. We give away a brand new electric car every single month because we're nice, I guess. Check the link down below for more details. Okay guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope it was insightful. Let me know in the comments if you found it useful, and if you found it interesting, please do hit the like button and subscribe. I'll see you again soon.